Okay, here goes. The Kitchener of my river runs through cowl in one fell swoop. But if I goof something up too badly, I will go back and edit it out just so you don't have to watch me do it wrong several times to get it right. So anyway, a little bit about my thought process on approaching this, because I have I-cord edges, and I-cord edges have the stitches knit in a particular order, right? These three, because we were wrapping them and then slipping them. But that's not the way they actually line up when we are looking at them. This second stitch is on the outside. This outside stitch, really the first stitch we knit, is on the back of the work. So just for ha-has, I'm going to switch their positions because that's how it looks to me, like it should be when they're sitting happy. And same thing here. They look like they belong more in this way than they did the way they were sitting. This one I've somehow reorganized okay. And then over here looks like inside, outside, inside, which maybe would actually look more like this. And somehow I've got a twisted stitch in here. You may find that along the way as well. If you want to fix it, go ahead. If it doesn't matter, then we don't worry about it. Oh, looks like I somehow knit something extra. Even more interesting. Okay, so I think we've got them arranged the way we want, which makes me then think, okay, if I'm going to truly Kitchener that so it looks like an I-cord, I'm going to need to do this inside out to start with, aren't I? And that means just turning things around. And I think what I want to do is Kitchener this one to this one, right? The middle to the middle, and then the outside to the outside, and then work my way around the front. So if I'm truly going for this stitch, I'm going to come in from the back. And that kind of mimics what's been happening over here, right? There's a purl bump there. And then I want to come through the back on this one. Right, then back down through the front here. Now I need to go from behind on the side one. Now I need to come back up here and do the same on this one from behind. And it's tricky that we're starting out this way because, of course, it would be so much easier on the flat rather than on a curve. So now I'm going to gently turn this right side out. And here's my front stitch of the I-cord. Here's my side stitch of this I-cord. And because I'm only halfway through this stitch and halfway through this stitch, I need to come back into this stitch. And again, I want the purl bump behind. So I'm going in the front, same thing here, in the front, out the front on this one. Okay, I'm only halfway through this one, so I need to come back down to grab this stitch. And then get the one at the top again. Okay. It looks like, though, I've done one through there, so one comes from here. Now, I've got this combination of this looks like a stockinette, but I think I want purl bumps on this one, which means I want to go in the front. Nope, sorry. No, that's right. I want to go across that. Just think about this. All right, so my purl bump is now across this. Nope. This is where the trial and error of this can be super helpful. And I think what's confusing this is we're actually knitting in this direction, not back this way. So in order to keep this leg and this leg looking similar, I will come in through the back. Okay, there we go. And now I can see how that looks. That's really what's guiding me as to what I need to do next. So that's why you're going to hear a lot of talking to myself and so forth. So now I've grabbed the stitch down on the front side, and I think that's looking pretty good so far. So there's our I-cord. Now I need to grab another one over here. So that's going to be purl bump in from the front. Okay, now up to this one, we want the purl bump across the front. So I need to come from the back on this one and come in through the front on this one so that my purl bump ends up across in front of my cowl. All right, so that's that one. And can you see why I like to take the needles out completely? Because they just keep poking in different places. Same thing here. If I want to purl bump across in front of the two, I need to come from the back on the first stitch and through the front on the second stitch in order to get that purl bump across the front. And just cinch that up. And again, catching on the needles. So if you find it easier to take them out, go right ahead. I just may, especially since they're falling off the other side already. Okay, now I need to catch this one again. And all I'm doing is making sure that my purl bump will go across in front. So from the back, down through the front. Okay, looks like a purl bump. That's what we wanted. Same thing here. Purl bump across in front. So I need to come from the back so the purl bump ends up in front. Another one there. Now, one thing I'm noticing, and this is just a, oh yeah, in order to make the stitch pattern on the river run line up exactly, I've ended at the end of the chart. But there's an odd number of garter stitch rows on this side, so I'm actually ending up with 2 purl bumps on this side and 1 purl bump on this side. It's just the way the garter stitch is going to line up, but I think that's the least of my worries, so I'm going to roll with it. If I knit another one, I might think a little bit harder about that at the beginning, but not for right now. All right, I'm going to take this needle out so I can see where I am, and I've got those 2 connected. This one I've only got 1 anchor in, so I'll need to come back to it. And where am I here? I got that stitch with 2, so this stitch only has 1. And now things get interesting because I'm going to connect this stitch right from the back. With the twisted stitch, which I want to do also from the back because I want it to come out and look twisted, but not have a purl bump across it. Oops, I split that one. There we go. Okay. So notice this is crossed over here because that's how we grabbed our cast on in order to make those twisted stitches. And the twisted stitches are all going to be these weird X's, and they're kind of fuzzy because I've been carrying this around for so long. So just bear with me on it. We are going to grab the first side of this stitch, and then we're going to put it into what we need to work on this side, which is, remember our first stitch here. I need to come through the back so that still looks like a purl bump on that half. And then I want this to come from behind on this stitch. Okay, So now I'm ready to twist whatever I do up here. So, and here's where I'm experimenting again. Looks like I need to come in. If this is crossed over this way, I need to somehow come in from the back. Actually, nope. I need to come through the front, probably backwards, and then through this side. Hey, I like the way that looks. And notice over here when I grabbed this stitch, because I wanted that purl bump in front, I went through the front door. Okay, back up to this side. I need to anchor this stitch. So I will go back to, I think, X this way, X this way. I'm going to come from behind and cross over the front here. See what that looks like. It's a little bit of an extra cross. Let me take that out, see if there's a better place I could put that. And this is kind of the experimenting when you get into these wilder stitch patterns. Where would I put this yarn so that it looks much better? So there's a loop out of this one, now a loop out of this one. Now what we really don't have until we get up here is a loop out of this one. So I wonder if it's here where I should go and mimic this. Except, what did I do wrong? I need to come across so that I can then go through the front. All right, that one may not be the way I want it eventually, but I want to keep going with this because that's how I learn. Coming back down through here. Okay, I need to connect to the one next to it. So those two now look pretty good, right? Yay. I've grabbed this one once, I believe. So I'm going to come from the back. Okay, now we need to grab this one next to it. And again, because it's twisted to twist it, or twisted to a purl, how did these attach? Come in from behind. And also from behind on the purl. All right, it's just a start. In through the front here. And to make that twisted, I think I want just coming from below on this side. It's going to go in the top. And cross over this way. Okay, so how did that go? Like this one, right? It's twisted in the correct direction. It's a little funky getting it together with that, but we are working in brand new territory here. And I think this next part is where we can make an improvement on that. So what I'm doing is in through the knit stitch, crossing over because of this purl bump that I want to have next to it to maintain the bump in between. Okay, I know the one down here, I'm coming out the front side and in through the back side. Through the front to the back. Okay, so that part looks good. Now I've got to connect this. Oops, no, that doesn't look what I want. I went the wrong way. And this is where just kind of talking to yourself and looking to see, does this look what I want, is really the key, I think, to good Kitchener. Right, so from the back means my purl bump is behind that stitch. That's what I want. Okay, so now I want to grab this twisted stitch, right, create another twisted stitch. And in all of these, my yarn goes up to the left, around, and back down to the right. So I'm going to go up to the left, okay, through both of these, and then back down to the right. Let's see what that looks like. I think we're getting a little closer there, don't you? Okay. So I've grabbed this stitch. Now I need to do my purl bump here. Okay, now I need to catch something up here to get a purl bump in the middle, which kind of means there's not really much to grab because of those twisted, or the X's up here. So what I think I'm going to do, just take a look at the back of it, and somehow, if I get this needle out, right, I can see if I unfold it. On the previous stitch, we've got something coming through here and over to this one. So we got nothing really fancy here, but it's coming. And again, let's take a look from the back side to see if we can figure it out a little bit better. It's coming down from the stitch above, right? So down from the stitch above, as a loop, and it's connecting how? These are the questions. And of course, we're looking at it upside down. So if you need to turn it right side up to help you think, go for it. So now I see a stitch coming down this way, a stitch, purl bump coming this way. All right, so how are they connected above? Comes up this way. Aha, purl bump through here. That starts to look a little more like it. Okay. This is the trial and error of figuring this part out. And I hope you're not sorry you're watching. This may be like watching paint dry, or you may be throwing up your hands and saying, mine doesn't look like that. I encourage you to come work it out, because it's figuring out where you put the stitches that really help you then understand how this knitting thing works. So like here, I'm ready to do a mimic of this purl bump. I know it needs to go across to this next stitch. Where's it grabbing? It's grabbing this little horseshoe. So let's grab this little horseshoe, right? And it's confusing because there's two, so I'm just going to grab the one on the right side. There we go. Now I've got something that looks like what I wanted to. Hooray! And I know on this side, I need a purl bump coming out of the stitch between the rapid. And I know I want a twisted stitch here, and I want it to be stockinette. So I'm coming from the back. That way the purl bump goes behind, okay? Now back up to this one, where I'm coming from the left side to the right, and back down, twisting that one. Okay, harder to see because the needle's in the way, but when I take it out, I actually, now I'm being picky, want this to go the right leg here. Right, I want it to go behind the left leg. Definitely picky, but that's okay. That's how I'm learning this. All right, now over to this one where I know I want the purl bump to come in front of that loop. Okay, it's looking pretty good. And now the tricky one of I've got to connect these two in a purl bump. And I think what we saw in the last stitch, and again, remember we're learning as we go, we want to grab it from behind here. So it comes through the back, up the front, and then we grab this one. Okay, let me come back down here. This one needs a purl bump in front, so I'm coming from behind. Okay, and I'm coming from behind in this one to connect it. Right, back up to this one, I do believe. Yep. Okay, we're to the point where we're going to connect this purl bump and this one. And because this is a knit stitch on this side, you want to come from behind, and then this has got to go in the front on this side. Okay, and here's where I think having the needles out of the way will be really helpful. Okay, wasn't as pretty at first. This part looks okay. This part, all right, it'll come out in the wash. This one a little rocky. This one got a little better. This one got a little better. Look at those. I think we're figuring this out. Okay, so we're back to regular reverse stockinette. So we want the purl bump in front of the two stitches. Okay, same thing up here. We want to come for a purl bump in front. We got to find the back of that stitch, which is now wanting to turn because of the way it's being pulled. All right, so there's that stitch. And yes, this is so much harder when you're working with the same color. Okay, here I am, purl bump 2, twisted stitch. So I think I'm gonna anchor behind, bring it down in a twist. Oops. What I skipped here was this purl bump next to it, right? I need that connecting. Okay. Okay, so this one comes up from here and we'll connect this way. Then back down through and over to the purl bump. Back up here underneath, through for the purl bump. Purl bump to purl bump. Yeah, okay. Oh, I would have thought I'd run this short on yarn. I used quite a length. Okay, so I'm ready to purl bump up here. All right, so I am to the other side, the 3 I-cord stitches. So what I want to do is have one here, one on the left side and one on the back side. And it looks like this is my this is my back side one, this is my back side one, left side, and these 2 are the ones that I want on the front side. So we're going to, through the front here, catch the other side. Okay, sorry, got someone coming in. Right, through the back here. Through the front side on this one. From the back on this one, so the purl bump is behind. Back through the front side here. Oh, did you notice I twisted that stitch? If I'm being super picky, I can go get it out. Okay, let's turn that back around. Try that again. We don't need those to be twisted. So grab the front, back up here through the front. So the purl bump gets hidden behind. Okay, back down through, grab this one from behind. Grab the one next to it from behind. Okay, so now we're gonna go in from behind. Up here, through, back down. This one I did the wrong way. Gotta go through the front. Okay. Now we're back up top. So we've got the left side of that one anchored. Back down through here. We need to grab the one next to it. Okay, up we go. Through here, back up. Wait. No. Oh, so close. Home stretch. Down through this one next to it. Through the front. Through the front. And now we can sew them in. So there we are. You can kind of see a little bit of a seam, but boy, did that get better as we went along. I'm pretty stoked about that. All right, can't wait to see yours.